peace, sisters and brothers, from the one who is, the one who was, and the one who, what? Is to come. Good morning, saints. Good morning, sinners. We're all here, and all that we are is here. Good morning, John. This is my brother. He's a Presbyterian minister that's playing hooky from his church this morning to come in here and meet. So I want you to welcome him from another tribe than mine, but it's an honor to have him here, and thank you for being here. Jesus had the ability to speak many languages. We know he spoke Hebrew. We know he spoke Greek. He probably knew a little Latin. But the primary language that he spoke and told his parables in was a language called, anybody? Aramaic, yeah. And everything I just said to you, grace to you and peace, this is the brother, one who is, one, you can express in one Aramaic word. It's a really unusual word because it's a word in Aramaic that has three tenses. It has past, present, and future in that one word. And it's a word that ends the Bible. Anybody? Maranatha. Can you all say that? Maranatha. So, next time, if you don't want to say the one who is, the one who is, the was, the one who is to come, you can just say, yeah, in fact, it's a great way to greet each other. Greet each other instead of say good morning, say Maranatha. And that's how I greet you this morning. Anybody here do summer reading? Or am I the only one? I have a summer reading list? Okay, good. Yeah, I'm a little behind on my summer reading, but for the past couple of years, my summer reading has been trying to get through Robert Caro's biography of Lyndon Baines Johnson. He started it in 1982 with volume 1. It's 5 volumes. His last one was in 2012, volume 4. We're still waiting for volume 5. Can you imagine one life, 44 years, he's only done 4 volumes, devoted to one subject, Lyndon Baines Johnson. I'm still on volume 3. I haven't gotten to volume 4 yet. But I love his writing. I love his dedication as a scholar to give a biography of one of our presidents. I also love reading about LBJ because he had a great way of kind of talking in aphorisms and maxims. And so I love reading about him and learning him. I mean, this is one aphorism that I like. This is LBJ. The most important thing a man has to tell you is what he's not telling you. Think about it. The most important thing somebody has to say is what they're not trying to say. I love that. It's a really profound comment. But the thing that I will never forget, I'll take it with me for the rest of my life, and I'm hoping you'll take it with you, is LBJ, and he had his major economic advisor was John Kenneth Galbraith. And John Kenneth Galbraith had worked with LBJ one day, and he came home, he was blasted, exhausted. And he told his housekeeper, whose name was Emily Gloria Wilson. Can you say that? He told his housekeeper, I'm going to take a nap. I'm blasted, I'm exhausted. The president's worn me out. Just don't bother me. I don't care who calls, don't bother me, I'm taking a nap. So I went in, and a few minutes after he had taken a nap, and the phone rang. It was the White House. And what's her name? Emily Gloria Wilson answered the phone and said hello. And the end of the line said, "This is the president. I need to talk to Kenneth." And she said, "Well, he's sleeping, Mr. President." He said not to disturb him. And LBJ said, "I am the president. You wake him up." And what's her name? Said to the President of the United States, "No, I don't work for you, I work for him." This is the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, the one who may be the most powerful person in the world. And this housekeeper said to the president, what? "I don't work for you. I work for him. I will not wake him up." Of course, when John Kenneth Galbraith got awake from his nap, he was horrified. He immediately called the president, apologized profusely, and LBJ said, "Forget it, I want to hire her. Can I steal her away from you?" Because she knows who she worked for. The most powerful person in the world, this little housekeeper, her name was, she's one of my heroes, I want you to remember her name, could say no. And the reason why she could say no in that moment without equivocation and, oh, what do I do now, and wringing her hands, is because she had settled long before that call the most important question you will ever answer every morning. Who do you work for? Who do you work for? Who do you work for? The ultimate question, every human being, who do you work for? Now, most of us don't have, the White House on speed dial. But every one of you has presidents calling. And we live under the constant cultural conscription. Line 1, the president of public opinion. Line 2, the president of success is holding, waiting for you. Line 3, this is the line that I've got to deal with the most, the president of approval. We want, there's a lot of Cocker Spaniel in me. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I love to be petted. I loved you to stroke me and tell me, that's why preachers stand at the back of the church after service. We get, and shake hands, we get pumped up, I love getting pumped up. Who doesn't want approval? Who doesn't want applause? And waiting right behind them, the president of fear, the president of expectations, the president of insecurity. And every morning, wake up, drop what you're doing, bow to my urgency, and take my call. But the life of faith in Jesus Christ begins when you have the nerve to look at the highest bidder for your attention every day and say, what to their face? I don't work for you. Now, thousands of years before this housekeeper, whose name was, there was he was a kind of a cupbearer, but then he turned into this contractor. His name was Nehemiah. And Nehemiah was building a wall. I want you to look at the passage this morning, and we're gonna read it, because he's standing on this pile of rubble in Jerusalem, and he did the exact same thing. And he was rebuilding the broken wall, and while he's doing it, when word came to Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem, the Arab, and the rest of our enemies that I had rebuilt and the wall and not a gap was left in it, well, up to that time I had not set the doors and the gates. In other words, not finished. Sanballat and Tobiah sent me this message: come, let us meet together in one of the villages on the plain of Ono. But they were scheming to harm me. So I sent messengers to them with this reply: I am carrying on a great project, and I cannot go down. Why should the work stop? 4 times they sent the same messages. And each time I gave them the same answer. And the answer is what? I don't work for you. I don't work for you. You cannot build a holy wall while you keep climbing down to take meetings with the people who want it to fail. And today, on this Legacy Sunday, we pause to honor those who have stood and continue to stand on the scaffolding of this very assembly. When you look at Ocean City Tabernacle, you aren't just looking at brick and mortar and wood. You're looking at generations of wall building, trustees who have stood there. And we honor them, past and present today, who have stood there and have said to all the other calls, I don't work for you. Now, much of the trustee service happens out of sight. It happens at altitude, if you will, not in the weeds. Boardrooms over spreadsheets, oh, I hate those things. Weighing difficult decisions, manage fiduciary care, assuring that the mission to proclaim, nurture, and serve remains uncompromised. Trustee service, trusteeship, is a gospel-centered ministry. It's an act of worship, as you've already heard. And it's basically the first command that God gave to humans. And, the world's oldest profession is not what you think it is. It's a gardener. Adam and Eve were told the first command, tend and till the garden. Tend means to conserve. Till means to continue to create. Not co-create, but continue God's creativity. In other words, we're called to be trustees, that language of dominion, have dominion over. It's a bad translation. Get it out of your head. It really means be a trustee of what I've given you. We have a father who used to worked at a bank, and he worked at a trust company. Banks used to be called trust companies because they were to be trusted. And these trustees around today have been trusted, and we trust them. And when regional pressures or financial uncertainty called up to them saying, come down to the plane, let's compromise, let's do something different, let's give up the mission, let's give up the vision, they sent back the same reply as Nehemiah. We're doing a great work. We cannot come down. We're going to preserve, conserve, continue to create at this great Ocean City Tabernacle. For 100 and how many years? 47. Last week I spent a glorious week. It wasn't an easy one. 2 sermons a day for 8 days, the same people. But it was the 200th anniversary of the oldest continuous camp meeting in American history in Brownsville, Tennessee. It's called the Taylor Tabernacle Camp Meeting. And you're almost there. 147 years. Now, what's going to keep you to go another 147 years is this Nehemiah principle, but I want to give you an image for it. And I'm going to give you, this is a card that I keep in my wallet. I can't get to my credit cards unless I go through this. It's the size of a calling card or a credit card. And here it is. A little card, you can see it up here. Please, comma, God, but the comma's X'd out. And this is the comma that is dividing your soul and keeping you from saying with absolute clarity, I work for him. I don't work for you. Now, Martin Luther, one of my favorite theologians, John and I spent yesterday kind of debating John Calvin versus John Wesley. Who's the greatest theologian? Who's closer to Jesus than anybody? Of course, I won. But we both have a tremendous admiration for Martin Luther, and the founder of the Reformation, actually. And any Lutherans here? And so I'm honoring you. There we go. Okay. Martin Luther had a saying in his table talk. Part of the Reformation theology was around a table. He sat around a table and talked theology like John and I did yesterday. And he had this saying, theology is grammar under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Theology is what? Grammar. And you and I are grammatically trapped by that comma. See, we say, please, comma, God, help me here. Please, comma, God, give me what I need for here. Please, comma, God, fix that person. Please, comma, God, balance this budget, smooth that crisis, validate my efforts. The comma assumes that God hasn't given us already what we need. The problem is that God hasn't provided us all that we need, exceedingly abundantly above all we can imagine or think. The problem is not God's problem. The problem is our problem. Our hands aren't open. They're clasped around that comma. We don't trust God to do what God says God will do. And that comma, please, comma, God, do this for me, turns the Almighty into kind of a celestial vending machine, the Holy Spirit into a room service concierge. The comma makes God your assistant. God, do this for me. And you, the director. So, I want you to get rid of that Oxford comma. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I have a friend, Leonard Sweet, the last 20 books I've written. He's read every one, and he's a fundamentalist about put in the Oxford comma, Sweet. And so I in my books, they're in there, thanks to Landrum, but in my life, they're not. I've gotten rid of that Oxford comma. Jesus reigns and rules, not Oxford. And so my prayer from this card is I want to live a life that gets rid of the comma so that I am continually, constantly, always devoted to one thing and one thing alone, and that is to what? Please God. Period. The comma makes it a transactional demand for a provision. And getting rid of the comma makes you and I in a permanent posture of trust and obey. For there is what? No other way to be happy. Happy. And this is where my brother has some things right, you know. The Presbyterian tradition, if you come out of the Reformed tradition, the first thing you learn is the Westminster Catechism. First question of the Westminster Catechism is, what is the chief end of man? And the answer is to glorify God and enjoy Him. It's never been said any better than that. To glorify God means to please God, and then to live out of God's pleasure and to enjoy Him. I mean, the first thing Jesus heard when His whole family was there at His baptism, He hadn't done anything. He hadn't preached a sermon, He hadn't healed the sick, had performed any miracles. He'd done nothing, but He hears from the heavens, "This is my beloved Son who gives me great pleasure." We were made. Just your existence gives God pleasure. You don't have to do anything. Just your being gives God's pleasure. Can you live out of and luxuriate in that pleasure that God takes in your being, in your existence, in your life? But a response to that is we live a life that pleases God. that little curve of the comma is a hook. And everything that wants a piece of your life lives inside it. That's where inside that little hook is the fear, is the flattery, is the demands of the crowd. And when trustees step up to trustee an institution like Ocean City Tabernacle, when you give faithfully of your time and your treasure, you have to drop the comma. You cannot exercise faithful governance or radical generosity with closed fists. Closed fists gripped tightly onto recognition and applause and control. You open your hands to receive what God has already provided for you. And say, Lord, this is me. Use me, melt me, mold me, make me. I exist to do 2 words. What is it? Please God. Erase the comma. When you erase the comma, I want to say something else, so something will happen to your clock. It'll happen to your capital too, but I want to say something about your clock. John Wesley once preached a sermon called Redeem the Time. And redeem means buy it back, consecrate it, reclaim every flickering second. Make every dollar count for the ministry and mission of God. The world lives by a chronometer. You know, there's a difference between chronos time and kairos time. Chronos time is calendar time. Kairos time is God's time. And the world lives by the chronometer. The disciple, I love to invent words, so you get a sweet word I invented, okay? The world lives by the chronometer. We live by the kairometer. In kairos time, not to please the world's understanding of time, but to please God. The chronometer counts. The kairometer recognizes every moment as a sacred moment. Every step we take as an arrival, as a divine appointment. The world tells you to stay busy. Jesus tells you to bear fruit. And when our legacy trustees looked at their time and their financial resources, they didn't ask, how can I spend this on my own comfort? They viewed their lives through the kairometer, through kairos time. They viewed their time with you in building this place an investment in eternity, an earnest of eternity. Every dollar stewarded, every policy weighed, every silent hour of oversight was a decision to redeem their time for generations to come. I read something recently where somebody had an app, the best way to kill time. And I about threw my phone across the room. Meaning, you and I were put here to kill time? Your life is a 4-letter word, time. How you spend your time is your life. Time is the most precious thing you have. What's the most precious thing you can give to anybody? And you're here to murder it? God put you here to kill it? To murder it? To waste it? So why do we keep penciling that comma back into our lives? Why do we hesitate to commit our time, to invest our time, our service, our legacy to the work of the Lord? And there's one word I think that hides in the middle of that comma, that little hook. And the word is, you ready? Fear. Fear is the ink that writes the comma back into your life. Fear is what takes calls from lesser authorities, like presidents. Fear is the subtle gravity that coaxes Nehemiah down off the wall. But the whole sweeping saga of the greatest story ever told, from Genesis to the maps, is the story of men and women who refuse to let that little comma of fear punctuate their destiny. If Abraham had feared the unknown, there would have been no journey of faith. If Moses had feared his stammering tongue, there would have been no exodus. If Ruth had feared a stranger's land, there would have been no linkage, kingly linkage to David. If Esther had feared failure, there would have been no for such a time as this. Think if Mary had feared the impossible. Not just the implausible, but the impossible, there would have been no manger in Bethlehem. If Peter had feared the deep water, there would have been no walking on water. If Paul had feared all of his critics, and boy did he have them, there would have been no epistles to build the church. If the early martyrs had feared the blade and the burning, and that phrase that you all know, stew in your own juice, you know what that comes from? The 13th century martyrdom of saints. Because they were burnt at the stake and they stewed in their own. That's the word that. If martyrs had feared it, their blood would never have seeded the soil of the word. And if Nehemiah had feared his opposition, the wall of Jerusalem would still be a heap of ash. But let's go from the Bible story to your story. The phone call you keep avoiding because you're afraid of how the conversation would go. The apology you keep rehearsing in your head but never delivering because you fear the silence on the other end. The calling you keep filling under, well, someday I'll get to it. Because you're terrified you'll fall and fail in front of everyone. What testimony dies unspoken in your life because you fear the critic? What Ruth goes unwelcome because you fear the stranger? What Bethlehem star goes unfollowed because you fear the dark road? Every comma you leave on the page of your life is fear, signing its name. So, every morning, you have one decision to make. And the decision is the question. The question is what? You tell me now. Who do I work for? Nehemiah stood on the scaffolding and shouted, I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. Emily, what's her name? Gloria Wilson. I want you to remember her. She's my hero. Held the receiver and said to the president, the most powerful person in the world, Mr. President, I don't work for you. I work for him. Your legacy trustees look at the tabernacle's call to proclaim, nurture, serve, and say, this work matters. We will be trusted and trusted faithfully. We will not come down. And if you want to see what this turns out to in one person's life who totally got rid of the comma, never put it in no matter what happened, and lived a life for those two words, please God. Here is John 8:29. He who sent me is with me. The Father has not left me alone, for what? I always do what pleases him. This is the mantra, the maxim, the motto, the mission of Jesus is to what? The two words? Please God. No comma lived out to the very last. To the breath on the Roman cross, he still didn't put the comma in. He was there. Please God. So let's settle the question once and for all. Hang up the phone on those lesser presidents of this world. You have a wall to build. You have a mission to fulfill. You have a tabernacle to trustee. Take the red pen, draw a line through that comma, and the world will lose. Social media will lose every ounce of the leverage it has over you. Every patch of dirt you walk on turns to holy ground. Every ordinary, mundane task becomes a cosmic calling. Every annoying interruption becomes a divine appointment. Every hour stops being something to kill and a sacred gift from God to enjoy and to redeem. Because to kill time is to wound eternity, and you were never put here on this earth to wound it. You were put here to redeem it. So hang up the phone on the presidents of this world. You have a wall to build. The trustees have been building this tabernacle wall for 147 years. I brought some cards. I put them on the pedestals. You're welcome to take one until they go. I don't know how many are left. But brothers and sisters, you are doing a great work. And you will keep doing a great work if you get rid of that comma. And know who you work for and live for these two words. To live a life that what? Please God. And all God's people said.